The Wii U. Is it a fascinating example of greatness doomed by marketing failure, or is it a train wreck of a console? If you haven't heard of the Wii U before, or didn't get the chance to have much experience with this awesome console, it was released in November 2012 to be the intended, keyword intended, successor of the wildly successful Nintendo Wii. Sporting two different models, a basic and a deluxe, the console allowed users to play games on both the big screen and on a miniature tablet-like accessory called the Wii U gamepad. What was most exciting about the Wii U then, and arguably now, is that the Wii U gamepad allowed people to enjoy what is termed asymmetrical gaming. Asymmetrical gaming is a little hard to explain, but imagine Squid Game's red light, green light, and I'm the giant girl and all the runners are you guys. I prefer to call it multi-role gaming. It's easier to say, and as the name implies, multiple people can play multiple roles. Yeah, asymmetrical gaming not only sounds like a piece of jargon and is rather clunky, but it also feels dated. In multi-role games, as the name rightly implies, multiple people play multiple roles. So the Wii U had a great variety of games that allowed people to play various roles at the same time. One really cool example was Just Dance's Puppet Master mode. In Puppet Master mode, one person could use the gamepad to demand various poses and reward the dancer that pulls it off the best with extra points. So, let's think about the strongman pose. The Puppet Master could demand your best strongman, and if you pulled it off the best, you would get extra points. Sometimes this was game-changing. Another example is from Nintendo Land. In Nintendo Land, one person could use the gamepad to play as a ghost, hunting ghost hunters, while the other players used Wiimotes to play the role of the ghost hunter. Imagine the Wiimote was like a flashlight, and you have to hunt around on the main TV looking for the ghost, which you can't always see. Using the two different screens, both the gamepad and the TV, allowed Nintendo to create a console that you could share with others in an intimate, special way. A lot like the products I often see for sale at Spencer's. So multi-role gaming, what is it, what does it mean, and who does it involve? Like many things in life, the Wii U is better with more people. It was the summer in the year of our Lord Miyamoto 2012. Oh my god, 2012 was like 30 years ago. Anyway, Nintendo was sizzling up the release of the Wii U, hot on the heels of the Wii. They were running a campaign called the Wii U Experience, and this was very similar to the Summer of Play that they launched shortly after the Nintendo Switch. Select My Nintendo Rewards members were invited to the Wii U Experience, and I was lucky enough to actually get one of those exclusive invites. Allowed a +1, I made sure to bring my partner in crime, Moogie Mikey. I remember waiting outside a building in downtown Chicago in the heat, and our anticipation was just growing in correlation with the sweat dripping down our ass cracks. Once inside, we were provided with special wireless cards that would keep track of our photo op moments, and an exclusive Wii U themed lanyard. We were given Wii U themed water bottles that had the bright blue Wii U stamped on them, and even some Wii U themed sugar cookies. I'm not the biggest fan of sugar cookies, but Moogie liked those. I know, what's wrong with me? Holy shit, this was real! We got to play a whole bunch of games early. Nintendo Land, New Super Mario Bros. U, Wii Fit U, Batman Whatever, Game & Wario, Rayman Legends, Pikmin 3, Just Dance, and maybe even more. But that's all I remember off the top of the dome. Knowing the Wii U was coming out later that year made it feel even closer. It gave me a lot to look forward to, especially since I was moving away for college. When we attended the Wii U Experience that summer, we didn't actually know the price at the time of our attendance, but because the Wii was $250 at launch, we figured it wouldn't be much more than that. They ended up announcing the pricing on September 12th, 2012. Surprisingly, in a first and so far only move from Nintendo, they launched with two different versions of the console. The basic Wii U console for filthy casuals dropped at $299.99. The deluxe edition for gamers like me dropped at closer to $350 USD. There were only these two versions, and of course, the deluxe version was painfully superior than the basic model. It dropped with 32 gigabytes of storage and a bundled-in game. Meanwhile, the filthy casual console was white and only had 8 gigabytes of storage. So for $50 more, you got 3 times the storage, a game, and it came in slick gamer black. It was a no-brainer which console was for me. Regardless of the fact that there were 2 models, I didn't have the money for either of them laying around, so... yeah, as I started school, I was like, well, fuck. How am I gonna afford $350 for this absolute unit of a console? Funnily enough, though, just under a month later, on October 10th, 2012, Mikey got monetized on YouTube, and my gears started turning. It looked like a really fun way to create some content, and of course, make a few extra bucks. I immediately started scheming on how I could get monetized, get the money, and get the Wii U. I felt like Eddie from Ed, Edd n Eddy. I was immediately scheming. Around this time, parodies were really popular, and I felt like I wanted to make a cover of a Disney song. It sort of felt like a modern Weird Al sort of thing, and so I started concocting a song and lyrics to the tune of Disney's A Whole New World. Thankfully, I never actually recorded the music video, and Mikey and my friends talked me out of it because it would have aged so poorly now. It also would have been dead on arrival, let's get real. I was super gassed up on the idea, though, of making parody songs and parody lyrics, and I thought it would just be so fun. I really thought that people would relate and be inspired by how fucking broke I was as a college kid and my love of the Wii U. I also thought people would just enjoy the parody lyrics. Looking back, the most ironic thing about this trouble is that I wouldn't have been able to monetize it anyway because Disney would have had their guns and their lawyers out for me. We all know how that is. In fact, maybe even Nintendo would have found a way to stick a cease and desist in there somewhere. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin for my early YouTube efforts. There is a silver lining to this tale, though. Remember how I said Moogie got monetized at the time? Well, Moogie decided to use his first YouTube check on my console to save myself the embarrassment of making that video. It was also an early Christmas present. I found out early, though, because my best friend in college told me early after she promised Mikey she wouldn't tell me. So fast forward to the release date of the Wii U. It finally arrived, and I waited all day for Mikey to get off of work and bring it on over since I had come home for Thanksgiving break. I couldn't wait. After we set up the Wii U, there was a mega huge download to update the system, which was actually unprecedented at the time for a console launch. I'm talking like huge update, over an hour long. The update was so long I went to have dinner while it installed. People online were even making jokes that the U in Wii U stood for update. Unfortunately, some people even apparently got interrupted during the massive download update process and reportedly ended up with bricked consoles. Imagine having a $350 paperweight on launch night, literal nightmare material for me. Don't ask me what happened to those people either, because even now I'm not sure. I think they're still out there with their bricked Wii U consoles crying. I was one of the fortunate people who didn't have any issues with the massive hour-long download and install process, and neither did Moogie. If you were one of those poor, unfortunate souls, let me know in the comments below what you ended up doing about the problem. God. So once I had the Wii U, I immediately booted up Nintendo Land and New Super Mario Bros. U. Mikey ended up getting New Super Mario Bros. U and the Sonic Racing game for himself. Amazingly, there were over 20 games to choose from at launch. This offered a lot of variety. Zombie U is a highlight for a lot of people because it was such a different tone for a Nintendo console launch title. People were hyped for the more adult tone that Zombie U suggested at the console's possible future library options too. Looking back, it's honestly amazing and refreshing to see that the console launched with a really strong third-party lineup. You would think that that would continue throughout the console's lifespan, but unfortunately, just a mere few months later, support would start dropping like flies. Personally, I think there was something more going on in regards to the lack of third-party support. In fact, if I'm being honest, I think the console outright died and struggled because the sad reality was that most of the amazing experiences of the console relied on the share factor. And I think that most people just didn't have access to enough people locally or the luxury of the time required to enjoy the experiences the console offered. I say this out of personal experience. Games like Nintendo Land, for example, became 10 times more fun with each additional person I could find to play with. Soon after I got back from Thanksgiving break, for example, my friend got me Just Dance 4 for Christmas, and it was then that I started hosting regular Wii U parties in my dorm room basement. My friends and I would pass around the gamepad and take turns being the puppet master in Just Dance. We would switch off on being the ghost in Nintendo Land, and everyone would insist on making me Mario, too, in Mario Run. I was, for a time, the hardest person to catch since I could practice on my own. I feel this way because games like Nintendo Land and others became 10 times more fun with each additional person I could find to play with. Honestly, it was an amazing experience, but only because I had willing friends to play it with. If I had to enjoy these games on my own and didn't have local couch co-op to enjoy it with, it just wouldn't have been the same. I loved Nintendo Land, and discovering new theme park games and unlocking them felt magical. You just had to be there. That's actually my biggest regret with the vast majority of the Wii U's library being ported over or revamped for the Nintendo Switch. Much of what I love about the Nintendo Switch grew out of my love for the Wii U. People were excited about this console, as you can see here in these comments from a video taken at the Wii U Experience event I attended in 2012. This was actually uploaded by the Nintendo YouTube channel of the Wii U Experience in Chicago. To compare all the pre-console hype with how the console would actually end up being is really heartbreaking for me. Seeing so many of the same titles that originated from the Wii U become household names now is mind-boggling. Another thing I reflect on frequently is that Splatoon got its start on the Wii U, and even though the franchise began its life on that console, most people haven't played it. It's since then gotten 2 sequels and continues to grow. Despite the franchise's humble beginnings, Splatoon made it off the Wii U. It's really fascinating to think of the production journey these games have had and what it illuminates about the Wii U. Even though Splatoon survives on the Switch, the original Wii U game that made me fall in love with the series still remains locked on the Wii U hardware. The Wii U showed a lot of promise, and one of the biggest things we lost, even with most of the library being accessible via the Nintendo Switch, is the concept of asymmetrical gaming. It just isn't commonplace anymore. For example, Nintendo Land doesn't have an easy way to offer someone to play the role of the ghost on the Nintendo Switch. These things were only made possible via a second screen like the Wii U's gamepad. Without a second screen, these games and features are likely to remain obscure oddities instead of gaming standards. I've thought about this a lot, and sure, players probably could use their phones in conjunction with the Nintendo app, but I feel like if Nintendo wanted to do that, they would have by now. The odd thing about this is that you currently can use your cell phone with Just Dance, so it's not as if it's entirely impossible. Using a cell phone is the only other alternative forward I can see for creating any kind of environment with 2 screens. And sure, I guess players could just use a second Nintendo Switch for that feature, like they did with Super Mario Party, but that's a reach. In this day and age, almost everybody has a cell phone. Not everybody has a second Nintendo Switch. Even though I have access to multiple Switches and multiple copies of Super Mario Party, I haven't once used Toad's Rec Room or board games or whatever it's called. It just was never convenient and not quite what I was looking for. It's not an approximation for the Wii U gamepad. The Wii U just made it accessible, engaging, convenient, and fun. Sure, Not all of the hits landed, such as what my friends thought of Mario Party 10, more on that later, but most of the other features in other games worked flawlessly. In fact, they made for some incredible memories for my friends and me. Unfortunately, people just didn't seem to know what the hell it was, which was also strange in retrospect because the Wii was such a huge household name. Even my non-gaming parents would fire up and play Wii Sports Bowling, but they wouldn't touch the Wii U, ever. It was as if they somehow felt like it wasn't for them. In fact, if the Wii wasn't hooked up for them on our basement TV and the Wii U was in its place, they would complain. They felt like Wii Sports just wasn't the same on the Wii U. There was nothing that spoke to my non-gaming parents about the Wii U, which is crazy because a key essential component of multi-role gaming is having other people to play the roles. It was a struggle to get them to try Nintendo Land. In fact, I'm not sure if I ever did. It was as if the Wii U was invisible to them, or somehow intimidating. For as big as a fad as the Wii initially was, Nintendo just couldn't seem to advertise what multi-role gaming was. Or people just thought the Wii U was another unnecessary expensive add-on for the Wii. I can't blame those people for thinking that either, especially since the Wii had so many add-ons. The mass market arguably became very accustomed to add-ons, given all the nunchucks, the Wiimote Wii Sports accessories, and even the Wii Fit balance board. Imagine why talking to people about the Wii U often also didn't help me make new friends. Speaking of peripherals, though, there were also a variety of peripherals the Wii U had, and arguably the biggest of those peripherals were Amiibo. I was super excited about Mario Party 10 and all things Amiibo that came with that experience, but by the time I introduced it to my friends, they literally said the game, with its tap and pass play using Amiibos, wouldn't even be improved with drinking. When I introduced that game to my group, they said it wasn't fun in any aspect and we never played it together again. Mario Party 10 was so bad, it killed the numerical nomenclature Nintendo had going for the entire Mario Party series. Think about it. We got Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch instead of Mario Party 11. And nobody talks about Mario Party 10. Literally nobody. This is probably because nobody played it or knew it existed. Not that you guys missed much either. Similarly, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival was disappointing. Where do I even begin? The amiibos in that game allow you to move around a board, but the game has no minigames, no events, nothing but text popping up. The amiibo were just another add-on that served more as collectibles in this title than actual useful peripherals. It was like eating cardboard. The game. Looking back, what's wild about this is that when I was a kid, I used to play Mario Party 1 for hours by myself, but I never turned Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival on ever again. Mario Party 10 suffered with the injection of Amiibo, and Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival was soon on sale for $5 at discount stores like Five Below. This didn't look good for the Wii U either, and I was easily able to see the barriers as to why I was alone on Saturday nights playing Amiibo Festival by myself. This didn't look good for the Wii U, and looking back, it's kind of crazy that I picked up Amiibo Festival by myself and was playing it on day one alone. Literally no one wanted to come over and enjoy this game with me. Nobody. And I know a lot of people. You could probably begin to see why being the only Wii U owner in my gaming group that I knew other than Moogie was lonely. It's wild too because so many people were on the Wii's dick. People either didn't know what the console was until I showed them, or they heard about the few hugely disappointing titles and just dismissed the rest of the console's library. A lot of people would use the failing titles to beat the Wii U down. The failures of games like Mario Party 10 or Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival were made even more obvious because there wasn't a lot of third-party support as the console's lifespan went on. We also never got a real Animal Crossing game for the Wii U, so yeah, when a game was bad, it was really bad. It made big splashes, and more people would just use that to justify their refusal to buy the console. The truth is, however, that the Wii U had many great games. This is proven by the fact that 95% of the games from the Wii U's library have been ported over to the Switch, and they're go-to mega seller titles on the console. Think about it, all these games came from the Wii U. Mario Kart 8, Captain Toad, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokken, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Bayonetta 2, Hyrule Warriors, Wonderful 101, Pikmin 3, Super Mario 3D World, and many more. Unfortunately, Nintendo just seemed unclear in their intention with the Wii U. And again, all of these multi-role gaming experiences require you to have, willing and available friends. A hard reality is that a lot of people prefer single-player games because you don't have the limiting factors of needing other people. Worse yet, all of these games are local player only. There are no online components at all. If any game had online playability on the Wii U, the online functionality was not all that functional. Unfortunately, it's very clear to see in hindsight that Nintendo had this assumption that the wider audience would develop brand loyalty just from the Wii's mass appeal alone. They just assumed that this would transfer over to the Wii U, and maybe that's why the advertising budget was non-existent. Here's another wild story for you about my experiences with the Wii U. This console was almost dead on arrival. Even promised console exclusives like Rayman Legends became, un-exclusive. Yeah, the Wii U was doing so poorly that Ubisoft backed out of its exclusivity deal with Nintendo. This happened right before the launch of the game in February 2013, only 3 months after the console launched. Ubisoft delayed Rayman Legends to later that year because they decided to prepare it for simultaneous launch on PS3 and Xbox One. They delayed it 3 weeks before it was due to release, even though the game was technically done for the Wii U platform. I was heartbroken. I had it pre-ordered and everything. I was so excited about what I had seen of the game at the Wii U experience. This game was built for the Wii U's gamepad. After I had it pre-ordered and everything, it felt like a breakup over text. I was pissed at Ubisoft. I was so angry that I didn't even buy the game until I managed to get it in a buy two get one free deal from Target. And you bet your ass that Rayman Legends is the game that I let Target pay for. Rayman Legends was a hell of a game, meant for the Wii U's gamepad. They were made for one another. It was like watching the bride leave the groom at the altar. Playing this game on other consoles at the time literally felt hollow by comparison. It felt like it was just missing something. The experience of Rayman Legends on the Wii U's gamepad is far more charming, especially if you have friends or family willing and available to play the multiplayer with you. To me, that makes sense. I mean, I'm biased, but it was developed for this hardware initially. In addition to the lack of third-party support plaguing the Wii U throughout its lifespan, unfortunately, it was further brought down by Nintendo's massively successful 3DS connection being half-baked. I mean, it's bad enough that the 3DS had a rocky start, but as the library unfurled, at least it managed a financial redemption. What I mean by half-baked is that features like Miiverse, which was a really unique feature that could have been expanded upon, just wasn't. If you're not familiar with Miiverse, it was a tiny social media platform that players could come together and discuss their favorite games on. Even though both consoles had access to Miiverse, they didn't both have access to the 3DS's Swap Note application. Swap Note, if you're not familiar, was a fun little drawing application on the 3DS that allowed you to share fun little doodles and messages to your friends. Think Snapchat, but with drawing. It allowed players to express a lot of personal creativity, and Nintendo just abandoned it with the Nintendo Switch. Unfortunately, I say that this connection between the 3DS and the Wii U is half-baked because you couldn't send swap notes to Wii U users. That and Nintendo started to harshly moderate Swap Note because people were using it to send nudes. Like I said, Snapchat. Anyway, it was really half-baked, and I felt like they were just magical beginnings, though, for people who love to draw. They both had styluses, they both had touchscreens, but I couldn't send drawings to my friends with Wii U's. Not that there were many. But anyway, it felt like that meme with the drawing of the unfinished horse. All in all, the Wii U had a lot of unique features and concepts that showed a lot of promise, but were abandoned. Maybe it was in part due to the Wii U's expensive development costs. After all, every Wii U was technically sold at a loss unless players bought at least one game. Now, I don't know about you. I mean, I know you gotta spend money to make money, but that's some expensive production value. You gotta produce these consoles at a loss just to get them in the hands of players, and then nobody knew what it was? Maybe the fact that the Wii U was so expensive left no budget for advertisement in Nintendo headquarters. I'm just guessing. Editor's note, it turns out there really was an advertisement budget. In fact, there were a lot of advertisements. These likely flew completely under my radar because it looks like they primarily aired on kids' channels early on in the day. I was neither a child and nor did I have time to watch Uncle Grandpa. Nobody was watching that shit. I don't even think the kids are watching that shit. Having gone back and seen the ads now, I can easily see that the commercials felt condescending to consumers and more like propaganda for the Wii U than ads. The only cool thing about these ads in retrospect is that they had the actor for Steve Harrington, so that was kind of neat. Yeah, in hindsight, it's more correct to say that there wasn't a budget for effective advertisements, as opposed to saying there was no budget for ads at all. I'm glad that Nintendo seemed to learn their lesson with this advertisement fiasco regarding the Switch, but whether or not they'll retain that knowledge for the upcoming console generation, only time will tell. Overall, the fact remains, though, that no one seemed to know what it was, and it was a lot of money to drop on something that Nintendo spent its entire lifespan trying to salvage. Due to its financial failure, as a Wii U owner, I had fewer people to message on Miiverse, fewer people to splat in Splatoon, and fewer people to ask to see my titties. This console has such a special place in my heart, and I'm so glad that I could be one of 5 people to buy the Wii U. It was such an experience. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this retrospective, I've got another one dedicated to Amiibo that I'm working on with Moogie Mikey, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're notified when it comes out. Do you have any fun memories of the Wii U? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we wrap up today, I want to give a special shout out to THT Revolution. Your support fuels my passion for making things like this. Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, consider joining our community. Thank you for being awesome, and I'll catch you next time.